Irish guy, and Jude Bellingham is an absolute alien. This is the greatest move an English footballer has ever made. I'm sorry, but it is. He's joining Real Madrid before he even turns 20 years of age. The bloke is still legit a teenager. He is a child. When most people were 19 years of age, they were still living in their mum's attic, stealing pizza from the fridge, staying up all night playing Xbox, googling spoilers for the ending of Lost, applying for jobs at River Island, and sending weird WhatsApps to their granny in the bath. Was that just me? I mean, even when Jamie Vardy was his age, he was earning £30 a week for Stocksbridge Park steals. Yeah, Bellingham's salary is nearly 10,000 times more. And that's without talking about his endorsements and brand deals. I mean, he's an England international. I mean, Jack Grealish is a Gucci model. I mean, Vardy, back at 19, was probably sponsored by some local dog walker, just slipping him a tenner to advertise it on his Bebo page. Going from Birmingham City to Real Madrid in just 3 years. Wow. Absolute wow. Back in 2020, this guy was obviously headhunted by Man United, yes, but he was also the subject of a £1 million bid from Tottenham, and yeah, had offers from Leicester and Wolves. I mean, to be fair, a move to Leicester City would have actually been quality. First team football under Brendan Rodgers, for a team who'd finished 5th in the Premier League, but still, going to Dortmund, and now Madrid. He is surely the first Englishman to play for Real Madrid before he ever appears on Match of the Day. I mean, lads, him deciding to snub Liverpool for Real Madrid, not only does that mean I don't have to get a tattoo anymore, but I think it's actually broken Anfield Agenda's brain.
Give me a tenner a month and I'll teach you how to get women.
Bellingham to Real Madrid is such an incredible move, and surely the greatest transfer an English kid has ever made. I mean, I suppose Louis Barry swapped West Brom for Barcelona, but I mean, he never played for the team. To this day, I still don't think the Barca president even knows who he is. Oh, imagine going from Barcelona to Salford City in just 3 years. So yeah, this is an incredible move, but actually, Real Madrid could have signed Wayne Rooney in 2004. This is what Florentino Perez said.
Rooney has shown at Euro 2004 that at the age of 18 he is a splendid player and that he is mature enough to develop both physically and mentally in order to become the most important player in the world. If Camacho tells me he would like Rooney, I will do my best to sign him.
Yeah. That was July 2004. Real Madrid actually did go English that summer, signing Jonathan Woodgate and Michael Owen, someone they bought from Newcastle, and another one they would sell to Newcastle. While Rooney was having to choose between Manchester United and, you guessed it, Newcastle. Oh, Christ, well, around that time, Perez probably looked at Newcastle United as if they were some annoying wasp which keeps spoiling your picnic. So while Bellingham has made the greatest move, I'm not saying he was the only one capable of it, because Rooney could have done this too. But Real chose to cheap out and just pay £8 million for someone based on his looks. Honestly, Real Madrid are the most superficial club in world football. They binned off Angel Di Maria and Mesut Ozil, both for being ugly. They chose to sign David Beckham and not Ronaldinho, because one of them is a male model who they can market in Asia, while the other one looks like something off the Hills of Ice. Honestly, Ronaldinho looks like a cross between Dracula and Sarah Jessica Parker. He's got a bigger overbite than the donkey of Shrek. He's like the Brazilian Jack Mate. And yet, on a purely footballing level, the man was in a different league to Beckham, and sticking him into the same site as Ronaldo, Zidane, and Figo. Oh, excuse me when I dribble Cocoa Pops all over the floor, but I mean, it was Beckham who had the Spice Girl wife, while Ronaldinho was probably just begging Rihanna for a kiss. And so, I am confused. Back in 2004, the only reason that Perez opted for Owen and not Rooney is because one of them looked like Justin Timberlake, while the other one looks like if you shaved the hippopotamus. There's a club fan base who voted Luka Modric as being a 2012 flop, and I can only assume that was partly due to the fact that he looks like someone's nan. Arjen Robben was a legit world superstar, every bit as good as Gareth Bale, but he was chased out of the Bernabeu after just 2 seasons, probably because he looked like a skinny Harry Hill. Honestly, even as a teenage boy at Chelsea, the guy was losing his hair at such a rapid pace, you'd assume someone had snuck poison into a shampoo as a prank. I mean, Klaus-Jan Huntelaar was a superb striker. He scored 105 goals in 135 games in his first spell at Ajax. He was Zlatan Ibrahimovic's replacement at that club, and honestly, he proved to be a better buy than the Swede. He was a goal machine at Schalke in the Bundesliga too. Lads, there was a season where he did 48 goals in 48 games. I wouldn't be surprised if his piss stunk of Lance Armstrong. It is one of the most underrated seasons any footballer has ever had, ever. I mean, he wasn't even nominated for the Ballon d'Or after that. Mario Balotelli was. He was just football's answer to Jedward. Just a successful joke act. I mean, they finished 5th when they couldn't even sing. $100 season was wow. He scored 5 hat-tricks that season. There were 2 games where he scored 4 goals, and yet he was dumped after just a year at Real Madrid. Probably because he looks like a werewolf who belongs in a Tim Burton film. This club might not like to admit it, but they only pay big money for handsome footballers. I mean, if you don't believe me, these are their most expensive buys over the last 20 years. Eden Hazard, Jude Bellingham, Gareth Bale, Cristiano Ronaldo, Aurelien Tchouameni, James Rodriguez, Kaká, Luka Jovic. These are athletes you could stick on the front cover of Men's Health and not look out of place. These are all men who Angelina Jolie would probably swipe right on Tinder. Although, to be fair, this was before Hazard discovered the wonders of barbecues. Nowadays, he's probably too embarrassed to take off his shirt at the beach. Even as we speak, he's probably got 3 different sausage sandwiches in his mouth. Okay, to be fair, Eder Militao's smile does look like a Halloween costume, and they paid 50 million for him. But even then, just a few months ago, Carlo Ancelotti was pointing out to the entire world in a press conference that he was not handsome. Was that really necessary, Carlo? Do you see how superficial this club is? I'm convinced that's the only reason they chose not to buy Rooney. And so Jude is lucky that he's clearly got a good dentist and that he does not look like a foot. There is a reason this club is obsessed with buying Kylian Mbappe, a bloke who looks like Thierry Henry. Sure, you could stick this man's face on a lunchbox or even on a woman's handbag. I'm sure Pepsi would love this man to advertise their drinks. Erling Haaland, on the other hand, that bloke looks like an orc off Lord of the Rings. Real Madrid have never really shown much of a flicker of interest in him at all. I mean, they spent last summer drooling over Mbappe when they could have signed the Norwegian for 60 million quid. As a result, I don't think we're ever going to see him in a Real Madrid shirt. Ever. Oh, poor old Carlos Tevez, he never stood a chance. Real Madrid are all about marketability. I mean, while at Barcelona, they were envious of Neymar and tried to poach him for PSG. I mean, how many Real Madrid shirts do you think they could have flogged in Brazil if Neymar was at the Bernabeu? There is a reason why in 2014, their marquee buys were James Rodriguez and Toni Kroos and not Luis Suarez, who, I'm sorry, would have been a monster Real Madrid buy. I mean, Samuel Eto'o was a world-class talent, one of the greatest strikers I've ever seen. Yeah, Madrid released him after just 3 games. They signed him from Cameroon in 1996. He had the ability to be at Real Madrid for life. There is no reason why he could not have been their record goal scorer, and yet he was barely given a chance. Sid Lowe wrote an article about this.
There once was an ugly duckling.
I'm not crazy here. This is Real Madrid. This is what they do. I know this is a strange video. It makes me look like I watch Magic Mike 4 times a day. I don't, but no, this is just what Real Madrid do. They spend big for marketability value. Lads, Bellingham has told the world that Zinedine Zidane was his idol, and so that's why he's taken the number 5 shirt. I'm sorry, I barely even remember watching Zidane play. I legitimately probably only saw him on television less than 15 times in my life. I mean, do you really think I had access to La Liga as a child? I barely had access to love from my mum. I mean, I remember watching him play 4 times in Euro 2004, then 7 times at the 2006 World Cup. I mean, he played against Ireland twice in World Cup qualifiers, and other than that, I think I might have watched him play against Bayern Munich and Monaco in the Champions League. But other than that, it was just highlight packages. And that's me. Bellingham. Zidane had retired by the time he was 3, so don't you tell me that you grew up on Zizou. When this man was headbutting Materazzi in the chest, poor little Jude was probably sleeping in his Rugrats-themed cot, having spent an hour drinking milk from his mum when Zidane was scoring those last-minute goals against England at Euro 2004. Bellingham was probably doing a poo on the couch, so that seems like a bunch of waffle. People are making such a fuss about him wearing the number 5 shirt, but I mean, Rafa Varane wore it for 4 seasons too. Fabio Contrao also had the number on his back, as had Nouri Sahin and Fernando Gaggio. 2 midfielders so utterly forgettable. They could walk past me in the street and I'd be none the wiser. Zidane also only won the Ballon d'Or once. So did Fabio Cannavaro, and he wore this shirt number on his back too. Although, to be fair, that version of Cannavaro, seeing him at the Bernabeu, half the time, it was like watching a bald Peter Dinklage trying to jump a corner kick. Zidane is idle. No, he was a Birmingham fan. Don't lie, Jude. We all know you had posters of Craig Gardner on your wall. He probably named his dog after Obafemi Martins. And to this day, he probably still gets nervous whenever he sees Cameron Jerome. Look, I said last year that Jude Bellingham to Real Madrid would ruin his career. I'll change my mind. I don't think it will. If he'd arrived for about 40 million quid, then sure, I could have seen him being given the Martin Odegaard treatment of being tossed into the back of the fridge, as they just concentrated on Eduardo Camavinga and Aurelien Tchouameni. But now, lads, this man is the 2nd most expensive signing in the history of the club. He is an initial £88 million, with potential add-ons taking the fee to 115 mil. That would make him the most expensive signing in Real Madrid history. I'm sorry, 3 years ago, he was playing for Birmingham. I mean, he escaped Birmingham because just 6 months after he left, they closed the academy, which would be a bit like if they cancelled the X Factor Factor after One Direction 1. I mean, without that show, Harry Styles will be working in a pub. Bellingham is a complete anomaly because nobody ever comes out of Birmingham's academy and moves to a European super club. I mean, the other ones waving that Brummie flag are Damari Gray and Nathan Redmond, who lives in Turkey. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that Eni Aluko is probably inside the top 5 biggest name footballers to emerge from that academy inside the last 20 years. I mean, what? She grew up and went on to play for Chelsea, Juventus, and earn over 100 England caps. I mean, she also played for Atlanta Beat, Sky Blues FC, and Pevensey and West Ham FC. Sounds like Pro Evolution 6. This wasn't supposed to happen. It is bonkers. Although, I'm sorry, whoever did sell Birmingham to Dortmund, whoever signed those papers, give your head a slap. Have you ever heard of a proper sell-on fee? Bellingham is signed for Real Madrid for 100 million euros. And yet Birmingham are receiving 6 million quid? Is that it? A 14% sell-on clause? Is that actually it? Well, to be fair, I know it is the most amount of money you ever received for a player since you sold Che Adams 4 years ago, but still, you should have bargained for a 35% sell-on clause at least. And I'm sorry, but am I the only one who feels bad for Job? This guy, by all rights, should be the pride of the family. I mean, Mark Bellingham is just an ex-policeman who clearly had the patience of a saint.
So, my name's Mark Bellingham, so I'm a sergeant. What are you recording, sir?
I'm recording a public building.
Okay, that's great. Any particular reason why you're recording a public
I
building?
don't need a reason.
No, that's fine, but
Yep.
but you know that obviously, while you don't have to have a reason, I might just gonna ask the question anyway.
Yeah, he was just a non-league striker. So if there was no Jude, the Bellingham house would be decorated with photos of Joe, who's just signed for Sunderland. The same day Jude gets unveiled at the Bernabeu. Oh, it's sad. You just know this guy is the Deji of his family. He is still an England under-18 international midfielder. An absolute talent in his own right, and yet he's living in Sunderland. While his brother rubs shoulders with Modric and Toni Kroos. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if jealousy ruins that family. To a point where within 3 years, Jude's getting kicked out of the family house by his little bro on Christmas Day. Well done, Bellingham. What a move. He's surely going to get games at Real Madrid. You don't pay £100 million if you're just going to let him rot on the bench. Not unless he purposely goes down the hazard route of eating chicken wings and Skittles on the couch. He is going to be a Real Madrid superstar. And people are saying,
Oh, his next move will be to the Premier League.
I wouldn't count on it. That's what everybody said about Gareth Bale. But aside from a forgettable loan spell at Tottenham 2 years before he retired, he never actually really came back. He went to Spain and that was it. Because if things are going well for you at that club, why would you ever leave Madrid? I mean, look at Madrid's starting 11 in the Champions League final back in 2014. Every single player were linked with Premier League moves. Only Di Maria, Varane, and Ronaldo ever actually moved to England on a permanent deal. All to Man United. I would not be shocked to see Bellingham stay in Spain for life. Because if he is as good as everybody says, he's going to have the longevity of Modric. Honestly, it's just incredible.